Brian is on his way, but we do have a quorum, yes, sir. Brian's out and Mike's. You know, no, they're not. Yeah. You are. You are. That's the light. My glasses.
Is it good down low? Or are these broken? I guess they're broken. Oh, I know they is. They will not be fooled.
Thank you.
I don't know if that's better.
It's still,
It's very bright.
it's, yeah, it's just catching the glasses on the side there.
John will just like this.
It's actually right there. You should put it right there. You just need to stand right here.
John, just hold her book up for us.
There it is.
A good deputy.
Well, of course, I will. I've had to hold the drum before.
That's right. Your first hearing.
It's not right before. Okay. Some of that I didn't know. Yes, sir.
Escambia County Contractor Competency Board is in session for the regular meeting, October the 4th, 2023. Madam Secretary, we can read the board rules.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Please silence all cell phones. If you wish to speak, please let the board secretary know in advance. Otherwise, raise your hand for the board chair to recognize your request. When the chairman calls you to speak, come to the podium, adjust the microphone, then state your name and address for the record. You are requested to keep your remarks brief and factual. Both parties of an issue will be granted uniform maximum time to speak. This typically runs between 3 to 5 minutes. This hearing is considered quasi-judicial. Conduct is formal and profane or derogatory comments will not be tolerated.
Thank you. Do we have a quorum?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, with 5 members present, we do, and Mr. Lister is en route.
Very good. Do you have proof of publication of the notification of this meeting?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, it was published Thursday, September 28th, 2023, in the Escambia County Sun Press. And
I got it.
thank you.
Very good. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from September the 6th, 2023.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Thank you. This time, the minutes are approved. At this time, we have a public forum, which is an opportunity for the general public to come before the board on any subject that's not on the agenda.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I have 2 speaker request forms. We have Chloe and Nick Sexton. If you could please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Chloe Sexton, 101 South F Street, Pensacola, Florida, 32502. At the September 6th hearing, Freeman Roofing was given the deadline of this hearing today, 10/4/23, for rectifying our roof defects. The board asked us to meet with Freeman and the city of Pensacola to come up with the work plan. After no word from Freeman, we inquired to the city on how to set this up and had to relay and explain to Freeman's office that they needed to ask for a contractor assist meeting urgently. It did not take place until September 18th. The building inspector instructed Freeman at that meeting to provide an engineering letter of approval for the differing ways that they installed the roof, which do not align with the manual's instructions. This letter should include the engineer's approval that their placement of screws was okay to miss the purlins, the screw type was used appropriately, metal to metal screw or metal to wood screw, and lastly, that our beam structure warehouse can support the weight of the added 29 gauge roofing panels. The building inspector also instructed Freeman to begin cleaning the rust and to replace the boots to prevent further leaks while we waited the engineering approval. The following day, Jimmy Freeman asked Nick if he could go ahead and start taking off the metal to replace the LTP skylights, contrary to being instructed the day prior to supply the engineering approval letter before removing any panels. They were instructed to clean the rust and replace the boots, and so Nick reiterated this instruction again. The boots have not been replaced as of today. Jimmy Freeman was on site for about an hour the first workday, and then he nor a project manager has been on site to monitor the job while work has been occurring as instructed by the board, and so the mismanagement has continued. Per the MBCI manufacturer instructions, stubborn particulate rust can be removed by rubbing the area with a pencil eraser. It continues to direct the use of a special product called Rid-A-Rust and a mixture of water to the affected area. In the paint warranty denial letter from MBCI, they state that care must be taken to remove the small particles while not damaging the paint film on the roof. Despite these directions for cleaning to be done with care as to not abrade the paint surface, abrasive tools such as magic erasers, putty knives, and steel wool have been used. Deep scratches that penetrate all 4 layers are now visible, along with scrapes, large area scratches, and defects that show bare metal. On Monday, October 2nd, with no project manager to oversee the staff, Freeman workers used steel wool and even purposefully covered our roof security camera by hand with a work rag to conceal what they were doing. A police report has been filed for the property damage caused. Freeman's attempt to clean has left our roof in worse condition than before, and it is compromised. We were shocked that their request to extend their deadline was approved without our knowledge or consent. The reason for their request was that we're a wedding venue that has events and that they can't work on the days that we have events. We've had many sunny days with no events and no one has come to work. Just yesterday, they did not arrive till noon to work and left before 5, and it was only 1 worker present. Freeman Roofing needs a real deadline and clear instructions. They advertise themselves as the best, but they do not care about our roof. Additionally, their website advertises a straightforward 15-year workmanship warranty, but we have only been provided a 5-year workmanship warranty. They've stated that the 15-year refers only to shingles, but shingles are not mentioned in their website's advertising of this 15-year warranty that is, in their own words, straightforward. Yesterday, Jimmy Freeman came on site for less than 20 minutes and when talking with Nick explained that he had high anxiety over our job. I can assure the board that Jimmy Freeman has our $89,000 full payment and that our wedding venue and our main source of income is continually being disrespected by this company and is now damaged. We will not accept further excuses. The time for action is now. We wanted to make the board aware of the mismanagement that continues to go on and the lack of respect that Freeman Roofing has for his clients like me and this board. We ask that no further extensions be granted and that the November 1st hearing has disciplinary action. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Have you requested a complaint again
What do you mean?
with the board so you can come back before the board
Yes,
next month?
we were supposed to come this time and they asked for the extension,
Okay,
which was
it'll
approved.
be
So
next month.
November 1st, yes.
No
Great.
problem.
Thank you.
You'll be here next month.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. The other speaker request form is James Howard. Mr. Howard, if you could please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
James Howard, 1310 Missouri Boulevard, Pensacola, Florida. I wanted to come before the board. I missed last meeting. I apologize. I had the dates confused. I thought the meeting was the second Wednesday of the month. So I didn't get a chance to be present or state proof of situations that prove that I was not guilty of the claims that was made. I was later informed that my license was revoked, my privileges as far as pulling permits in Escambia County. I want to find out what I could do to restore that.
You come before the board next time and request reconsideration.
Okay. Is that what that's what I'm here to do. How do I do that?
So to recap, at our last meeting, Mr. Howard had 2 hearings before the board. One final order included suspension of permitting privileges for a year, and the second hearing resulted in revocation of permitting privileges. It's my understanding that Mr. Howard is requesting the process by which he can get his permitting privileges restored.
You have to come back before the board and request it,
Okay,
but that's not at this meeting.
okay.
Just to be clear, the next step for him would be to appeal to the BOCC.
Have you been before the Board of County Commissioners?
No, I haven't.
So if he doesn't agree with what the determination of the board was, that he wasn't guilty of this and that the board did something that was inappropriate, we didn't follow procedure, then his appeal goes to the BOCC.
Yep.
And then after that is exhausted, then it would be something that if he, the board can determine when they would allow him to come back and
Yep.
whether or not he could apply for anything. This board would determine whether or not
You
he could apply
understand
for
that?
reinstatement.
You have to go before the Board of County Commissioners.
Okay,
So the appeal process was in your final order. You had 21 days from the date of the final order to contact the secretary for the Board of County Commissioners and file an appeal. It's detailed within your final order.
okay.
Even if that time frame is passed, you can still contact them and see if they would allow it to still come before the board.
Okay. I'll
But
do
there has
that.
to be grounds for an appeal, and then after you've exhausted your appeal, I'm not really sure, the board then makes a decision beyond that. This board would make a decision beyond after they've already handled it,
Okay,
okay?
all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other presentation before public forum?
I have no more speaker request
Okay.
forms.
We'll move on to item number 6, Board Secretary Status Report.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. It's October, so I need to add on to the agenda election of chairman and vice chairman for the upcoming year. So I just need a motion to be able to add that on.
Entertain a motion.
Motion to add.
Add the chairman and vice chairman.
We don't have, there's not enough members here, is there?
Yes?
Yes,
You
sir,
have a
there
quorum.
is.
So you need a quorum.
All right, does that mean we have to conduct that today? The
Yes.
selection,
Can you repeat your question, sir?
does that have to be done today?
The election of chairman and vice chairman by ordinance has to be done in the October meeting.
Thank you.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed? Being none, the motion to add the election of chairman and vice chairman is approved.
And just so you know, there's nothing in the bylaws that says that you can't select the people who aren't here and make them chairman and vice chairman. They can certainly be elected when they're not present. That's how we did things at the house.
That'll serve them right.
Show up next time.
When do you want to add that?
We will add that on to the end of the meeting.
At the end of the meeting?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Move to item 7.
Mr. Chairman, we have applicant Blake Erickson. Mr. Erickson, would you please come to the podium, state your first and last name and your address for the record, please?
Yep, Blake Erickson, 1673 Eagle Street, Cantonment, Florida, 32533.
Very good.
After reviewing Mr. Erickson's application, staff does recommend that he would be approved for examination.
Very good. Motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the application for examination for Blake Erickson Air Conditioning B. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Being none, the motion for application for examination air conditioning B for Blake Erickson is approved. Thank you, Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, guys.
And don't come back to see us.
Yeah, thank you all.
We move into item 8, which there is none.
We have no probable cause hearings.
Okay, move into item 9.1.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Item 9.1 is My D Tran, doing business as M&H Construction Services LLC, state registered license number RG 291103748, contractor competency board complaint number 220686 COM. It's in regard to Lynn Yang Lee, doing business as Let's Meet Korean Barbecue LLC. The complainant at 6235 North Davis Highway, Pensacola, Florida, 32504. Proper notice was sent to the respondent. This is a disciplinary hearing for noncompliance with a final order. As you can recall, in his final order, he was required to pay restitution to the complainant within a certain time frame, and that at our last meeting, we brought this to your attention, and you determined at that time to proceed to a disciplinary hearing. Mr. Tran, are you present? Yes. And he does have his representation, Mr. Hatler, with him as well. Lynn Yang Lee, are you present? And Mr. Lee is present as well. At this time, I'm going to have those parties sworn in and Ms. Reber sworn in as well. And she will remain sworn for the entirety of the meeting.
Okay, right hand, please. You solemnly swear the testimony about to give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I swear.
Since this is not a normal disciplinary hearing, there are no really housekeeping items. I would assume that you would want to hear from the complainant as well as the respondent.
Mr. Lee, would you come forward, please, sir?
Yes, sir.
Your name, address?
My name is Lin Yang Li. My home address will be 1029 Black Walnut Trail, Pensacola, Florida 32514.
Would give us what you want to tell us.
Actually, we win the case and we make agreement. It's a 2-year make payment, but I can't tell detail because I signed the agreement. So I can't see nothing, and just keep his license and let him keep work. He can pay me back like month by month like that. After 2 years, he pay everything like that. I just want to finish quickly. You know, it's taking me really long time. You can see the job. It's take a couple years. It's taking my business down a lot, and also it's taking my life. I'm at divorce right now, so just because of this stuff. And so I just want to finish everything. It's terrible. So. And for just keep his business running, and he can do the work and pay me the date, pay me the bill.
Is your restaurant back open?
Right now, yes, back open right now. But I try to quit. I try to sell my business. Maybe I don't know yet, because my wife, because I'm divorced, and my brother-in-law help me take care of the restaurant right now. And right now I need to raise 2 kids right now. So.
And how much does he owe you at this point?
He owe me. The judge gave me the budget is like $140,000, but we make agreement is around like 100 even, and but I can't tell the detail how he can pay me, but he pay me around 2 years and done like
so
that.
So he has 2 years to pay you back on a monthly installment?
Yeah, monthly. Yeah, and he pay me couple every month a little. After 2 years, he pay everything back. But I just want to finish everything. I don't want to go to call the lawyer every week, and
Has he paid you? Has he kept up with his payments so far?
Yeah, he just won one check after the courthouse. He gave me like just a small number, but it's fine. It's begin pay, and he let me go to the courthouse. Let me keep his license, and he can still pay me, and start this month, I think. I know it's really terrible, but how do I work? I think he still have the other case, right? And he don't have money, and that's the only he can pay me. So that's the only I can do right now. So, and also I'm asked if he don't pay me in the future, can I go back here to restart the case, or what should I do?
Any other questions?
I have a question for legal. I guess I'm not understanding what really
Mr. Lee.
we can do at this point. How do we do a monitoring
so to speak.
Right, so what, if I understand Mr. Lee correctly, he's saying he doesn't want you to take any actions on the failure to pay the restitution? The failure to pay you the money by
Yeah,
the control date?
Yeah, he start paying me right now, after the case, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, because I need to help him keep his license, and I don't know he's lost his license,
He's already lost his license based on our last, right? He already lost
No, he has
his permit privileges? That wasn't determined?
Not yet.
Oh,
So,
I'm sorry, he's on probation, right?
correct, he has a probationary period, and it ends in like May of next year, so,
Okay, so what you did was it 90 days to pay it? You gave him 90 days to pay it while he was in this probationary period, and this is your victim coming forward and saying, don't take action on the failure to pay the funds within the 90 days. That's what he's asking of you.
Do we have the ability to extend that?
You do, he's still on probation, but you can only extend it to through the probationary period. You can't extend it to the length of the agreement that they have reached. But it may mean that he's coming back. Who knows how, we don't know how long this will go on, but once we get beyond that probationary period, it's not all, it won't all be paid.
What's the, what's the length of time that we can extend it to, March of '24?
it is May 4th of '24. That is when his year probationary period is over.
And at that time, we can't go back and reinstall another year probation?
So what you would do is set a control date prior to May 4th, because you'll lose jurisdiction on May 4th. So you would want to set it for the April meeting to show that he has made the payments.
I think I would feel more comfortable doing that, because he just mentioned that what was his resolution, if he doesn't pay him and he stops making payment, can he come back to this board? So we'd rather just keep the probation period.
Right, so he would need to come back and tell you that the payments aren't being
But
made.
that's in April. He needs to come back no
He
later
needs,
than April.
whenever it
Yeah,
happens,
on or before.
right.
Okay, April, right? Okay.
On or before April, if he stops making payment, then you have the
Come
right
back
to
here.
come back to us, and
If,
And we
if
can-
he keep payment, it's okay, right?
then it's okay, yeah.
Okay.
But you're not gonna be made whole based on your agreement. From what I understand, the agreement that you've reached is beyond that probationary period, just so you
Yeah.
know. So he could stop payments and then
After
you'd be,
April, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
And we can't control that after they don't have any, they can't control that after that, once he gets off
Yeah.
that probationary
Yeah,
period.
I want he pay one time. I give him a lot of option, but he just told me I don't have money. And if you suit me, I lost my license. I just broken, and you got nothing.
and we're.
So I
we're-
can do nothing. That's the only option for me, you know. My lawyer talked to his lawyer a couple times. I paid a lot of money on the lawyer. Even the payment, just yeah. So I just yeah.
You-
Yeah.
And are we allowed to, in April, for them to come back and give us a status of where they are? Are we allowed to then extend the probationary again, for another 12 months?
I think you could, yes.
Yes.
Okay,
If things are going according to plan,
yeah,
then you could. It's just at this point, we're dealing with the 90-day restriction.
okay.
Do we need a motion to do that, to bring him back in April? Or can he just do it?
I would think to make sure that it's clear that you would need a motion to defer this hearing to April.
Well, so basically what you're gonna decide today is you're not gonna, so you would need a motion to say if you don't wanna take any action today. So that decision has to be part of what your motion would be.
Yeah.
But if you wanna take action today, that would be another motion that would need
Yeah.
to be made. So you have to determine that, whoever is gonna make the motion. And then second to that would be, we wanna set a control date and leave this open until April. And if anything comes up, then, Mr. Lee, is that
Yeah.
correct? Could come back in and let you know what the situation is, and then you could handle it at that time, because he would still be on probation.
And then do we also need to make another, I guess, another motion or to say that he can come back at any time that payments stop
Just
Or-
include that
in the motion?
you could do a lengthy motion and just include all those elements, if you wanted to.
And Chair, I believe Mr. Hatler, representation for Mr. Tran, would like to address the board.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Ryan Hatler, 2908 East DeSoto Street, Pensacola. Just a few clarifying remarks. The term of the agreement between the parties is 1 year, starting this past August. And so 2 settlement payments have already been made, and the final settlement payment will be made next August. And so while that is a little bit beyond the 1 year timeframe that council is referring to, with respect to the final order, it's not a whole nother year, thankfully. It's just whatever May to August is, like 3 months. And so, if I understand the proposal under discussion today, we would come back in April, assuming everything goes well, status report to the board that everything is still on track, and then perhaps the suspension, or not the suspension, I'm sorry, the probation can be extended through the end of the term, which again would only be about 3 or 4 months. If we do it from April, it would be 4 months.
Yeah.
If we do it in May, it'd be an additional 3 months. But I can
We
answer.
really want to have them come back on April to give us a status report.
So what hasn't been decided yet is whether or not you want to take action today.
Yeah.
And so that you would need a motion to determine whether or not the board wants to take action today. So once you get that motion determination, then you could make the determination that leave it open for him to come back at any time during probationary period, which you really don't have to do a motion for, except it would make it cleaner. Because of course, anytime somebody's on probation, it can come before you again. And that means that any other violations that may occur between now and then could also come before you and could affect this probationary period.
Yeah.
So just so you know, but as to this case alone, make the decision about whether or not you want to handle it today as far as his failure to make restitution within your 90-day order. And then move forward from there, saying with a control date of April,
Yeah.
to be brought back in April for,
I suggest the first action be made that we take no action today and defer it until April.
so he needs a motion for that.
I need a motion.
I was just gonna agree, so moved.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. One being opposed, the motion passes.
I did.
Okay, so now you've decided, you want to have no action today and keep this on the books for April, right?
Yes. I mean, as long as Mr. Lee is made whole, that's really my biggest concern, is that he's made whole again.
Right, and if he fails to abide by this agreement that they have or isn't making payments, then Mr. Lee can come back before you at any time, but April is when you need the follow-up.
Yes.
You want to make a motion?
So basically, you're just asking to keep it on the books till April?
Yes, I
this
make a motion
decision,
that we keep this on the books until April.
and it come back in April for a follow-up?
April for follow-up, and at
Alright.
any point in time that
Yeah.
the payment is not made, Mr. Lee can come back and then we'll start all over again.
Motion on the floor, is there a second? Second. Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Being none, the motion to defer until April is approved.
And just so you know, if there's any other new cases that come in, or if there's something else that comes up with Mr.
They
Lee,
can always come back.
he can always come back. He doesn't need
Mr. Lee, you
a
understand
motion or
that?
an order.
You can
on that.
always come back before April. Yeah,
Okay.
okay. Moving on to item 9.2. Yes.
Yes, sir,
Chairman?
Mr.
We didn't address the parts A, B, and C of the disciplinary actions. Am I mistaken about that?
We'll put it off.
Are you talking about in the final order, sir?
Yes, in the final order. We've addressed the restitution and how.
Correct. He has until the end of his probationary period to make those payments on those items.
Okay, thank you.
That's another thing that can be discussed in
it?
April.
That answer your question? Okay. Very good. Moving on to item 9.2.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Item 9.2 is Christopher W. Brown doing business as Shooting Stars Construction LLC, state registered license number RG 0019314, contractor competency board complaint number 230557 COM. It's in regard to Vin Cow, the homeowner complainant at 3709 Idlewood Drive, Pensacola, Florida 32505. Proper notice was sent to the respondent. Mr. Cowell, are you present today? Thank you. And are you going to provide testimony? And Mr. Brown, are you present today? And I believe you have representation with you, correct? And are you going to provide testimony?
Ben Alexander, we were actually expecting the superintendent, Mr. Tony Perez, who has all of our case file, to come today, and we are unable to reach him. We don't know where he is, so he was the individual with the most information about this, and we expected him to testify. And again, I'm trying to get a hold of him. We don't know where he is. He was supposed to be here. We talked to him yesterday. I'm not sure what happened to him, but so yes, but one of our individuals that we need to testify is not here today.
Okay.
Down on the agenda?
What's that?
No, go ahead, continue.
Okay. So I'm going to have the parties sworn in at this time.
Go ahead.
Can you raise your right hand, please? You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
And just a reminder that Ms. Reber was previously sworn. As you recall from the last hearing, this previously came to disciplinary hearing, and Mr. Brown was found in violation of some items. Today's hearing is only for a restitution determination to be included in that final order. Ms. Reber, was additional documentation provided by either party in regard to a restitution amount?
Yes, additional information was provided regarding the restitution by Mr. Cow.
And is it attached to the agenda as
Yeah.
backup?
Yes, it is.
Staff would request at this time that additional documentation attached to the agenda as backup be moved into evidence.
So moved.
Is there a second? All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Pose like sign. Motion's approved to move all documentation into evidence.
Mr. Cal, this is your opportunity to come to the board and address the board in regard to a restitution amount.
Good morning. My
Good
name is
morning.
Vin Cao. I live at 1743 Cedar Lane in Pensacola, Florida, 32514. And first of all, I just want to say thank you. And I'm very disturbed about the board told us last time, we even with a lawyer and everybody else, we'll be here for today. Then I heard from the lawyer say that his superintendent, or whoever that is not showing up. That's very disrespectful to the board. That's why I just want to mention that. And I provide, the last time the board asked me to do my part, to provide the listed out what is the restitution.
That's right, we did.
Yes, and then I provide everything I have.
You have provided that?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And plus, the money that we found out from the other lawyers suing us, that the lumber didn't pay, and I did provide it too.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
You have a copy of his request for restitution?
So the last 5 items attached to the agenda for this hearing are the items that Mr. Cal provided. I can bring them up one by one. All right, so the first item here, yes. The first item here is a total, Mr. Cowell, if you'll explain to the board what it is.
Yes, the construction from the Woodland Construction, that's the first line item. The item I listed out, that's how much it costs for repair and redo whatever is that damaged in the house. And the second part, the $30,000, not 32, I did correct that. $30,000 that I gave to Mr. Brown to continue my house because he said that the bank didn't give the money fast enough. And he did agree with me that they will reimburse me toward the end of the house, the construction, the home finish. Then the other one is the window cover. I did hire someone else to cover the window, well, because of it rained and everything that went for the last 2 years, and then that's how much it cost me with the material and the labor. And another $550 that Mr. Rightly, LLC Construction did not pay. I didn't pass the sewage inspection, the septic tank that put it in, and I have to go down there and pay that $550. And the bathtub, I did list it out. I just asked the company that we bought the bathtub from. I did want the parts only. They said that they don't do that. I have to rebuy the whole new bathtub. That's why they included in there. This is because the negligence of whoever maintained to do the bathtub, the house and the plumbing and everything, it missing everything. Somebody stealing it. I don't know where they come from. The light, everything, but I didn't include the light because that from Woodland Construction did that for us. So that comes out at the total amount of money.
Mr. Cal, what is this item?
That is the proof from Ms. Ripper asked me about the septic tank fell from the health department.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Ripley that request under my name, he signed a check and he did not pay the bill because the check bounced.
Okay.
So I had to prove that.
And what is this next item?
Oh, that is not a redo cost. This is the cost of continuing the money from the leftover from Region Bank. I have to include it in on the supply that we need to pay for to finish the home, and we just bought that so the electrical people can come in and to get it done.
And this item?
That is the money that we listed out. We pay Mr. Christopher Brown, and every time we tracked out everything where the money goes, even we paying him, but he didn't pay the lumber.
Okay. And this last item here?
I think that is the same one with
Okay.
yeah.
So what would you say the final number is?
The final number is, I believe it's $229,000 for redo costs.
So it's the number that you listed on that first document right there that's on your screen?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the $229,587 is the final restitution request.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Very good.
Thank you.
Any questions, Mr. Dow? Okay.
And just to clarify, it's $229,587.09. Thank you.
I missed that 9 cents.
Thank you.
You can sit down.
Mr. Brown, it's your opportunity.
Good morning, Ben Alexander. My address is 811 North Spring Street. I represent Shooting Star Construction. We're here before the board today on this disciplinary hearing. Unfortunately, as I indicated earlier, I'm at a bit of a loss because one of our witnesses is no-show. I'm not sure where he is. It's Mr. Brown's superintendent, and he has the file and has a lot of the personal knowledge regarding this matter. Unfortunately, his testimony was going to be very useful for today to go through some of these allegations, and unfortunately I'm at a loss without him. I would make a request to this board if we could potentially continue this hearing until November 1st, the next available hearing date. I understand this is a great inconvenience for everybody, but I would just simply respect under the circumstances if we could have a continuance to that effect to allow us to bring our witness in so that he could testify on behalf of my client. I'll also, very quickly, after our hearing last time, I spoke with Mr. Cow. He represented at that time that he had an attorney. I provided him with one of my cards. As an attorney, I'm not allowed to contact a represented party. If they have an attorney, I have to contact their attorney. Mr. Cow did not give me his attorney's name. He indicated that his attorney would contact me. As a result, I have not contacted him directly. I did expect an attorney to reach out to me. I haven't had one yet. I don't know if Mr. Cow has an attorney today. Again, it was represented to me that he did. If he doesn't, that would expedite things, because then I could talk to him directly. Otherwise, I'm kind of limited in my communications with him as a result of the ethical rules that govern my profession. Under the circumstances, I would move for this court to continue this hearing until November 1st to allow us additional time. I would also like to ascertain whether Mr. Cow does in fact have an attorney or not, so that hopefully I can either talk with him directly and expedite this, or speak with his counsel if he has one, so that again we can work towards a resolution of this matter. One of the things we had discussed after the last hearing was my clients going to the property to take some pictures and look at the some of the information that had been provided to this board since my clients had been discharged from this job and their access to the property had been discontinued. Again, part of that was with the communication with Mr. Cow. That's what I expected to have his attorney contact me about, and that wasn't done. So under the circumstances, I would request the continuance for 30 days for us to have an inspection of the property and for us to have my witness here.
Thank you.
It's at the board's discretion.
I believe Mr. Towell wishes to speak again.
Yes, come up, Mr. Cow.
Thank you, the board, and I just want to point it out, the attorney said, and nobody can contact me to go down and take the picture, that first of all. And like earlier, when they come up, I said very respectful to the board that he is the attorney. He said that whoever superintendent that's not so up to date, he is at loss. If he can do it today, and he can do it again. It's exactly how they built my house. I just want to point it out to prove it to you. And I'm bleeding. We're bleeding. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Make a motion to deny delaying it and to proceed.
Motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I think this is already a continued case. That's why I agree with the motion.
Well, I didn't understand.
I believe this case has already been continued once.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I thought you said.
I concur.
Okay. Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye, or raise your hand. Opposed, like sign. Being none, the motion to not delay and proceed with the case is approved.
So the request has been made for restitution in the amount of $229,587.09.
Okay, we've had all the presentation on where all the restitution figures came from. Entertain a motion to accept the request for restitution of $229,587.09 be approved. Is there a motion? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I motion that we make restitution to Mr. Cow in the amount of requested $229,587.09. Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Yes.
Staff would like to point out that we need a required time frame in which this needs to be paid by, and what will happen should this not be done.
So you may want to ask his attorney what window he needs to get this paid, just to make it, that's a big chunk of change, but to get it started on a plan.
We can modify the, restate the motion.
Should we table the motion, Mr. Chair, for the sake of a witness?
So for the record, what happened is the witness that the attorney was talking about appears to have come in the back door. And the discussion now is whether or not to table the motion and allow for there to be any testimony they want to have from the witness. So you can either table it or you can just withdraw your motion and allow it to go, testimony to go forward.
I would move to table it for the opportunity for the witness to speak as necessary.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion to table. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, like sign. Being none, the motion to table is approved.
Mr. Perez? You're going to provide testimony in regard to this hearing today? I need to have you sworn in, please, sir.
Prior to doing that, could I don't know if this is possible at all for you guys to do another item on the agenda. I need to go speak with Mr. Perez before our testimony, and I apologize. He just showed up, and I need to speak to him about some of his documents that he's provided.
No, why wasn't this done prior to this meeting? You guys have had plenty of time to get this done.
Again, I understand.
I get you're the middle guy, but, I mean, seriously.
And
You guys
how
have had
long you've
plenty
known
of
this
time.
meeting was gonna occur?
I was here at the last meeting, sir, but again, I've been waiting on getting this documentation. It was just provided to me, and I apologize.
So what are you asking us to do then?
Basically, if you could recall our matter after other items on the agenda under number 9 are called instead. Basically to do this one out of order.
It's up to the board. Entertain a motion to delay.
You can actually address this. I don't think he's not asking for a continuance. You can make the decision, Chairman.
We can just move him to the end.
Okay,
Yeah, we could do that.
we'll
Yeah,
move
we'll
the
move it to the
continuation of this case to the end of the disciplinary hearing.
But-
Thank you.
But please don't ask for continuance.
All right. We'll go to item 9.3.
Item 9.3 is David C. Poole, doing business as DC Poole Custom Homes of Florida, LLC, state registered license number RR 282812128, contractor competency board complaint number 230776 COM. It's in regard to Leah Chesney, the homeowner complainant at 8615 Beulah Road, Pensacola, Florida 32526. Proper notice was sent to the respondent. Ms. Chesney, are you present today? Thank you. And are you going to provide testimony? Yes. And Mr. Poole, are you present today?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
And are you going to provide testimony?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Awesome. At this time, I'm going to have the parties sworn in. And just a reminder, Ms. Reber was previously sworn.
You solemnly swear the testimony about to give today will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Staff would request at this time that the backup documentation and testimony provided at the probable cause hearing be moved into evidence.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, like sign. Being none, the motion to move all documentation into evidence is approved.
And Ms. Reber, was there any additional documentation that was provided after that probable cause hearing? And if so, is it attached to the agenda as backup?
Yes, there was additional information, and it is the last 2 items.
Staff would request that the additional documentation attached to the agenda as backup be moved into evidence.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, like sign. Being none, all documentation will be moved into evidence.
At this time, I'm going to draw your attention to the administrative complaint that was issued in this hearing. At the probable cause hearing, the board found that there was probable cause to believe that the respondent violated Escambia County Code Section 1837 C5, diversion of funds or property received for prosecution or completion of a particular construction project or operation by the contractor, when as a result of such diversion, the contractor is or will be unable to fulfill the terms of his obligations or contract. Code Section 1837 C9, aiding and abetting a homeowner or other building owner to obtain a building permit for the purpose of avoiding the legal responsibilities of a contractor without advising the homeowner of such legal responsibility that he or she assumes by obtaining the permit him or herself. Code Section 1837 D13 C3, misconduct or incompetency in the practice of contracting, and this one is for any other form of misconduct or incompetency. Ms. Chesney, this is your opportunity to come to the podium and address the board in regard to those cited code violations. Probable code violations.
Okay, I won't go over everything that happened. I won't repeat myself. The changes, we did get a COC last Thursday. He has completed, he didn't mention anything about doing trim or painting. We're doing that. It's just, we're cutting losses. We're just doing it. And we did get the COC. We do have an unpaid subcontractor who's still waiting on a payment, the Escarosa AC. So we're seeking restitution to be assured that he's paid. He's owed $4,100. We're also seeking restitution for the money that we put into it, plus the money that we paid the dumpster company directly, because David said I don't know, he just made us pay them. So that's total $4,281 for us, and then $4,100 for the AC company. We would like to make sure the subcontractor's paid first and foremost. We'd also like lien releases from David. We also are still waiting to see any sort of statements of where our funds went. We haven't seen anything. He said he would provide it. He hasn't. I'm sure he's going to ask for an extension today for this to be pushed till next meeting because he wasn't at the last one. I printed out some documents for everyone, some emails. He has not. He said he didn't receive any letter. The certified mail letter for the September notified meeting was returned, so he didn't get that. But they do send out a second letter by regular mail. I received both my letters, no problem. He sent us an email a couple weeks ago saying that we owe him money now for change orders. The first document is an email from David saying that he does not plan to request any more money from us. That he will complete the job paying for the remainder of the project, and that no subcontractors are owed. Not true. Page 2, I'll just skip that. Page 3 is the change order document where he says that, we owe the AC company X amount of dollars. We paid that, so that money should have been used to pay the AC company. I don't know where it went, and they're still owed money. Page 4 is the email from Escarosa kind of outlining their business relationship, lack of payments, way behind schedule, David just giving him the runaround, so on and so forth. He said a check would be mailed out Friday, September 15th. They still have not received a check. I also have a voicemail from David to Escarosa last week saying that the check would be in the mail the next day, and they have not been paid. And then page 5, 6, and 8 is just emails between Melissa and David saying that the meeting would be pushed to the September 6th meeting, that it would be going to probable cause. There's also communication with her explaining that he has a deadline to provide information to you all to, provide for the board. So David knew there was a deadline. He knew about the September board meeting. He sent in his response to the complaint the night before the agenda dropped. So I don't think that it needs to be dragged out any further. We got the COC on our house. All we're looking for now is restitution and lien releases, if at all possible. As far as the statements, we have been asking for those since March. So that's been 7 months. I mean, if we haven't seen them now, he either doesn't have them or doesn't want to show them, which is both bad in my opinion. And there's just a few other emails that I provided. As far as this meeting, I just think that his carelessness in not providing documentation to you all, not showing up to the September 6th meeting, just kind of coincides with the carelessness that he showed throughout our entire business relationship with paying the subs on time, finishing our house in a timely manner. He had a 120-day, deadline in our contract, and that's 4 months, and we just got our COC last Thursday, so it's about 11 months. And we're still finishing up work on the house. Like I said, it just is what it is. We really don't want him back. We just kind of want to be done, and that be it. So that's all.
Do you have an itemized list for restitution?
Yes, sir. I did provide it
Okay.
on there.
Good. And you have any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And restitution can be a part of our decision at the end of the counts.
That's correct. Mr. Poole, this is your opportunity to address the board in relation to the items defined in the administrative complaint.
Good morning, all. I want to start off and apologize. I did not make the last meeting. It was not intentional. I did not get I did get it, but it was after the fact when I got it. I don't blame the county for it. I believe they sent it when they were supposed to. I can give you, just to be straightforward, I live in Alabama, the mail's slow, and I've got 2 kids that are just now trying to learn how to check mail, and sometimes they think junk mail isn't, it's junk mail, it's not junk mail. So it's probably our fault I didn't get it, but I did not get it, and I apologize for that. I certainly would have been here. I deny pretty much everything that she said. We've obviously got a contract on this, and I don't really know where to start to go back, because if you look at her original complaint that she first wrote, there's all kinds of call them mistakes, dishonesty. I'm gonna tell you, I call it dishonesty. There's some things in there that I could sit here and prove to you for a fact that was not honest. A bunch of things. I don't know how much time y'all would give me, but we would probably be here for the rest of this week if we go through everything. But I've got emails and I've got copies of just about everything to prove what she's saying is not correct at all. So I'm gonna start from, not the beginning by no means, but all right, so I've kind of wrote some notes here. I'm going to try to go by them, and that way I won't be bouncing around, hopefully. Like I said, I did receive the letter after the fact that y'all sent, and I apologize. It's not professional not to be here. I would have been here to stand up for myself. I have hired an attorney for this, so when we go to court, I do have legal action. I'm gonna start on them after today. Been trying to hold off, see if we can sit down and talk and work things out, but they don't want to talk. I don't know what else they want. I am still owed money. I've got a spreadsheet that'll show you exactly with every receipt from that job if y'all want to see it. Every receipt.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
In here. Receipt, invoice, in here.
Excuse me.
I will.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I would like to offer that maybe it would be easier to address the counts specifically.
Okay.
To help, you know, I mean, there's 3 code violations here that I think are pretty specific.
Yes, sir. I agree with you, and I'll do that to simplify it. I just want to start off by, most stuff she said to y'all wasn't correct. Some was not. But I will do that, sir, if that makes it more simple for us all.
So, Mr. Poole?
Yes, ma'am.
The first item was diversion of funds. And from testimony at the last hearing, it was stated that you did not use the funds received to fully complete the project, and that you needed funds from other contracted projects to bring the project to completion. There was some testimony that you gave the homeowner stating that you would have to wait for draws from other projects to be able to complete their project.
And I guess my first statement is, what money did I take from what jobs? Was that stated? Because I didn't.
That was in the evidence that was presented at the probable cause hearing.
There was evidence showing that I took money from
Yes.
another job and
Yes.
spent on hers. May I see that, sir?
We don't have it here now.
Sir, how can she have any evidence I took money
If you
from
give
my
them
bank?
just a moment, they're gonna try to pull that up. Give them just a moment.
Okay.
As part of the backup, there is text communication between the parties, and Ms. Chesney, I'm sure, could speak to the exact area, because this is quite a bit of documentation.
Okay.
There's no specific name, number, anything. There's an email saying that he has to get funds from other jobs before he could complete our job. But no, there's no specific name, just a rough.
What was said and what she turned into are two different things. I did make the statement that I had, first let me back up to the beginning of this job. This job wasn't taken as a profit job, and it's in the contract. I even have a separate addendum that says that. This was a benefit to help them out. I added over, I'd have to go back and look, but the square foot I can give, I think a couple of you guys are contractors, I can give you the square feet that I added and you can do the simple math. This was a benefit, okay, is what this was. I'm still upside down money, and I can show you that. What I told her is when I finish jobs, I get profit. And that's how I pay my bills, that's how I live and feed my family. That's all I was telling her. I'm not making money off your job. I've got to finish some of these other jobs so I can make money and feed my family. And then I guess she turned it around to I was going to use that money to fund her job. That's not what I do. If I did do that, I think you'd probably have a line of people out here jumping up and down. That's not what I do. And that's not what the statement was meant to be. Let me go on some more of this stuff here, but she says I didn't provide any evidence of, or I'm sorry, not evidence, but I didn't provide and show statements to her of the money. I met with them twice that I recall at their house, the first time and the second time at their house. In the back bedroom that we were building, I sat right there with a spreadsheet and went over it, and they were fine for a little while. What this all boils down to is the change orders, not the contract. Change orders. And I've got emails with her approving and asking for the change orders. On these change orders, and I can show them on the invoices, I didn't even increase the sub's price because it was a benefit for them, helping them. I have over 20 grand that I could have put my 20% on, or 10 or 15, whatever I chose, and I didn't. I think she'll tell you that. So if I was trying to make money off of them, I sure picked a poor way to do it. And she knows this. No good deed goes unpunished.
Excuse me, Mr.
Yes,
Poole.
ma'am.
You brought out a file of all kinds of invoices and communication. Why haven't you already provided that to Ms. Reber so that she could go through it and add it to this file beforehand?
I don't recall her ever asking for it. Number one, when I first read the statement, there were a lot of dishonest comments in there, things that stood out that were obvious to me. And I just didn't, like I said, if she'd asked, I'd have brought it to her.
Right, but it's not Ms. Reber's job to ask for it. I mean, you're supposed to be responding to what's going on, so this would be part of your response to some of the complaints that are happening against you.
I agree. I agree with
So it
that.
would have been your responsibility to get with Ms. Reber.
I agree with
staff,
that.
And say, this is my.
I agree with that. The biggest problem I had is the CPA that I was using left, quit her job, and I guess her husband's a Marine, and they moved away. So it was all dumped in my lap. And my wife's a school teacher. She helped me on her times off. It took a little while to get everything the way they wanted it and organized, so where they could, understand it. And a lot of times it's hard, you can get work done, you can get 3 or 4 houses built before you can get invoices from some of these subs. It's something that I've got to tighten up on, because
Mr.
it's.
Chair, I have a question, Mr. Poole.
Yes, sir.
How many times have you been here in front of this board?
For allegations, this is the second time. First time was from a lady that.
I remember you being here before, and what I'm hearing today triggered in my mind. I'm hearing the same thing that you said last time.
What did I say last time? You weren't on the board when I was here the last time.
I was here the last time that I remember your name. I remember what you're saying now. That's within a year. I've been on this board about a year and a half.
The last time I was here was to get approved for a general contractor license. None of this was said. I think what you are remembering, sir, is the notes that because you brought it up, the notes from the lady that made the complaint that was thrown out. But you read those and brought that up and felt like that was a reason not to vote for me to get my license, and that's what you recall.
So we've heard this before about stuff like this, and to stand up and say that a witness is 100% false is pretty strong whenever there's been evidence such as the fact that you did say that you had to get money from other jobs and it doesn't matter where it's from, to continue this, and then to deny it whenever we saw evidence last month on this. It's pretty just concerning here. And I think they ask you to stay with the counts and we just keep rumbling off here. Mr. Chair, I see that this first account here is a reason for us to proceed forward with this count number 1.
You go back to the order. There you go. Count 1. Entertain a motion concerning the violation of count 1.
Yes, sir. I move that we find count number 1 guilty.
In violation.
In violation of count number 1, or the diversion of funds, property received for prosecution and completion of a particular construction project or operation by the contractor when as a result of the diversion, the contractor is or will be able to fulfill the terms of the obligation contract based on the evidence that has been submitted. With the penalty.
You want to go ahead with the
with the penalty guideline of $1,000.
A second.
motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, like sign. Being none, violation of count one is approved with a fine of $1,000. You get that? Okay. We'll move to count two.
Count two, Code section.
Hold on 1 second, ma'am. Am I allowed to ask the gentleman, I can't read the nameplate from here. I just wanted it on record that he did motion for it and before I got a chance to finish giving all my evidence.
Yeah, what are we doing here? Is he here to tell his story, or we're going through these counts? I'm confused
So-
about what we're trying to do here.
The board here today, they found probable cause that these 3 code items may have been violated. What the board is doing today is making a determination of whether he did or did not violate these 3 code items. Now, I know that it's a little bit different, and we're trying to get Mr. Poole to address only these 3 items, and he just did the first one. Normally, you would address it in whole, and then you would make a determination on the 3 counts. It seems like the board is more shifting towards, let's address each one individually, let Mr. Poole address each one.
Okay, let's go to the next one.
And Mr. Chair, to satisfy, that was the purpose of what I was saying,
Yeah.
Mr. Irwin, was because I understand the talking, but there was a count here that we needed to address to move this thing forward. That was my purpose because I never heard an answer, Mr. Poole.
I'm sorry, what was the question, sir?
You were supposed to address count number 1 about the dispersion of the funds, and you said it was a lie, but you didn't prove anything, and they pulled up the email that showed that you did say that. So I'm just saying, the evidence showed that you did, you didn't show any evidence not, and so therefore, let's proceed forward. That's what I was saying, instead of just talking in circles. Does that make sense?
Well, yes, sir, it makes sense,
Okay.
but I still wasn't through.
I'm not trying to be rude to you, Mr. Poole. I'm not trying to be rude to you.
I wasn't through with what I had to get to the meat and potatoes. She had a chance to come up first and tell, her side of this in a nutshell.
So, Mr. Poole, not to interject, but a lot of your storyline would have been shared at the probable cause hearing had you been here. This hearing is primarily for you to discuss the 3 counts that they determined during that probable cause hearing.
Yes, ma'am. Apologize. It's hard not to get off track, when you got somebody, attacking, you didn't do wrong, but obviously, I guess it makes it look that way, doesn't it? So, you want to move to number 2, sir? Or what do you want to do?
Let's go to count 2.
Yes, sir.
We found you.
Code section 1837C9, for getting the homeowner to obtain the permitting for the electrical portion of the contract when the electrical subcontractor was not licensed or able to obtain permitting.
That I did, but I want to explain the details in it, because if you read the statute, it says that and if I'm quoting this correctly, counsel, that it has to, the homeowner had to know what she was signing up for, and I was trying to skirt the legal ramifications. Well, at that point, it was, back when we were slammed, they couldn't get an electrician that wanted to do the work. It wasn't that big of a moneymaker. I just couldn't get one. So I did. I have an Alabama guy that's working on his license. He doesn't have it yet. And I told her that. And I told her, but we'd have to pull a permit. And I asked her if she wanted to pull the permit, that they could do it. And I explained to her, that makes you responsible. I said, I'll pay for it because you have paid me to pull the permit. I'll meet you down there. I'm not good with this mic, guys. That I'd meet you down there and I'll pay for it. I told her several times what it detailed. I met her down there, and I don't know if y'all know this. The county has a policy procedure. When she went down there, the clerk read her off a piece of paper verbatim what it said, told her what it said. She signed it, and I stood right next to her and said, are you sure you're good? You understand you are responsible. She understood. She's not a dumb person. She's a very smart young lady. She can read. She knows. So, y'all are up to what you want on that, but I don't see how she can sit there and sign the form in front of me, in front of this clerk, and not know it's her responsibility with that permit. But number 2, that electrician never did the work. I stopped him from doing it way before she complained. They never stepped foot on the property. I hired a licensed electrical company, and they did the work. That's all I got.
So, Mr. Poole, you just stated that to skirt this,
Nope, you're rewording it.
I don't think I reworded it.
You are rewording it. I
Am I
was
rewording
told
it?
I did it.
Somebody
but I did
else
not
help me.
skirt it.
I thought you said to skirt the legal aspects.
No, I was saying that's what the statute, one
Our
of the
court
elements to the
reporter can
statute
tell you.
says.
Our court reporter can tell us.
Sure. Did I say I was skirting this?
Mr. Poole, if you could give her a moment? Thank you.
I'm sorry to make you do this, ma'am. Your job's hard enough to ask you to do this. It's back where I was referring to the elements of the statute.
Just so you know, you can't talk about things while she's not recording it.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so we just have to be quiet and wait.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh.
I'd like to know what she was signing up for, and I was trying to skirt the legal ramification at that point. It was back when we were slammed, and you couldn't get electricians that wanted to do the work. It wasn't that big of a moneymaker. I couldn't get one. I had an Alabama guy that was working for me that didn't have his license yet.
Okay, you're correct. I misworded. I was not trying to skirt it. That's why I went
Too
down there
late.
and paid it.
It's already in
Well,
the
I'm sorry.
file.
You able to?
Well, you know, if he wants to say that, if he wants to clarify something, he can certainly be allowed to clarify it. It is your responsibility and your duty to determine what is of value or evidence.
Ma'am, we back on? Ma'am, you good? Okay. I never got your name, sir.
Alton Lister.
Mr. Lister, are you a contractor? You build houses?
40 years.
Thank you, sir. Can I give this to the board? This is a spreadsheet of change orders only, and what I'm claiming she still owes me. There's some checks she says she paid. I just want to give this to you.
That has nothing to do with count two.
Well,
What we can do is if you could give that to Melissa, she could have some copies made of it. Is this in count 3? Show what it's for. What is it for?
no, ma'am. Shouldn't be anyway, but I don't think it is. All right, anyways, I guess I'm through. There's a target on my chest is how I feel today. So it's up to you guys to do what you feel you need to do. Thank you for listening.
Okay, we're at count two.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. So as you can see presented on the screen, this is count 2.
Entertain a motion to find him in violation of count two. We need a motion to discuss it.
I make a motion that we find defendant in violation of Code Section 1837C9, aiding and abetting a homeowner or other building owner to obtain a building permit for the purpose of avoiding the legal responsibilities of a contractor without advising the homeowner of such legal responsibility that he assumes by obtaining the permit himself.
Is there a second?
Second. What kind of
Motion
penalty?
made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I have some discussion about the verbiage in the violation of a contractor, which includes unlicensed subcontractors, actually. That part of it I have the issue with is not the homeowner necessarily being advised by staff, but the contractor that was advised or suggested to do the work wasn't licensed in our jurisdiction. That was the reason for in my opinion, was the strongest reason for the violation.
Thank you.
I would like to add add to my motion, if that's okay with the board, and
Amend the motion.
I would like to amend it to include a fine of $250.
Second.
Motion made and second to add the amendment to establish a fine of $250. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Being none, the amendment is added.
Just as a reminder, we switched to raising hands because sometimes we can't tell who has voted and who hasn't. And since there's been nothing filed for the purposes of abstaining from a vote, we have to make sure we catch everybody. And some of you can be a little quiet.
Now we can, need a motion to approve the violation of count 2 as amended.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, like sign. Being none, the motion as amended is approved. We move to count 3.
So count 3, Code Section 1837 D13C3, misconduct or incompetency in the practice of contracting by receiving funds in excess of the contracted value and failing to complete the project. Mr. Poole, would you like to address that count?
Only thing I can do to prove that didn't happen is I don't know if she gave you a copy of the change orders. I can give you a full with everything on it. They met their contract amount. I don't dispute that. When she went into the change orders, that's where she didn't pay the correct amount. I've got a copy of the change order I broke down so everybody could see the change orders that she did and what she paid, or says she's paid, and what we say is left. And I've got the other spreadsheet, shows a full show of it. So that's all I can say, guys. There's not a whole lot else I can tell you other than she certainly didn't overpay. She's underpaid, and I've got records and receipts here, to produce to show that. Thank you.
I have a question for Ms. Reber. So, the one that you gave us in this packet was provided by the complainant?
That was provided by Mr. Poole.
The one in this packet?
Actually, that was provided by the complainant, which Mr. Poole had provided to her.
That she said she never got.
Did you, can I ask a question? Did you change this spreadsheet in any way?
No, I did not change it at all. That's the original. If you look at the evidence in the emails, there's an email from David saying that we owe about $9,000 to finish up the job. That was the change order document he provided. That's the only document of any financials we received for the job, and that was back in March.
And then you just gave us this one.
Correct, because that was in March where the job was ongoing. So at March, it was at, one point in the financials, and at the end,
When was this one? When was this one done? This,
the first one was in March.
and this one?
A
This
couple
is as
days
of-
ago, it was finalized. I mean, I don't know if I'm explaining it right, but that was where we were at in March. We just finished the job, so between March and now, that was the rest of the money spent
Well, this is about
between
as
March
clear
and
as
now.
mud. This is about as clear as mud between the two.
I'm a little confused. What exactly are you saying I owe you the 9,000 or the 2,000?
There's checks in there that she says that she's paid that my bank doesn't have. I've asked her for copies of them through email, and I've never received anything.
All
There's
of
two
the-
checks that are in question.
All of the checks are uploaded onto the county evidence website. I have copies of every check and the dates that they were cashed.
Okay. And if that's the case, the balance is the 2,000, not the 9. That's why it's sitting there, because we're waiting to get those checks from her that she says she paid. There's 2 checks that we have unaccounted for. That's not my bank. And I'm sorry, when I was explaining, that's probably why I was confused, and I forgot all about.
Well, I'm looking at this spreadsheet, and let's just take the box that says AC heat. You put on the spreadsheet you just handed us, you put the original contract as $2,075, but on the one that was done in March, the original contract says $4,600. So which one is it?
Can I look at them? Well, I can tell you, I don't know if I look at them. I can tell you I paid, thank you, ma'am. I paid a total of $8,000 for the system. Originally, we were gonna put in a split unit in that back room, and she decided she wanted to do the whole house, central heat and air. Good decision, it was an older house, didn't have it. So we went from that to,
I'm not questioning what you did, I'm questioning the validity of the spreadsheet and what you're telling us these numbers are, because
They
just
don't
by
match.
the one box alone, you're saying here on the March spreadsheet that the original contract amount before you even get into the change orders is $4,600. But the one you just presented as being the numbers as of just a couple days ago, now the original contract is only $2,000, and then you added a whole bunch of you added $6,000 in change orders. So what was the original contract amount is what I'm trying to get at.
I don't, without pulling these and going through them, I can tell you what they billed me for. You
just
probably
told us
got the
these are
rough
your
end,
spreadsheets. These are your spreadsheets.
You have 2 spreadsheets.
right? One that was done in March that I haven't seen since March.
They don't match.
Okay. Like I said, that was what we had going in March. On there was probably the rough end price, what they billed me at the time, the rough end for the AC unit. When they do the trim out rather, the final, they'll bill me for the final amount. He's already been paid half of it because he did the trim out, the rough end, and now he's got the trim out done, so I owe him the balance on that. He's the only person I owe. She was correct on that.
I just want to clarify that both contracts in the AC and heating, they both equal $8,300. So the first contract he provided us, he said customer owes $3,700. So we paid that. So now on this change order document he just gave us, now he says customer owes $6,225. So it just seems like it just changed his mind. He's like, oh, actually, we're going to charge you the $6,000 instead of the $3,700 that I originally said.
But But again, you're
Just
telling
say-
me that he provided you with both of these spreadsheets.
No,
These are-
I just received this
Right,
just
but
as
I'm
you
just saying,
guys.
both of these spreadsheets were created by Mr.
By him,
Poole,
yes.
Not by you.
No, not by me,
And
no.
These are his numbers, not
Right.
your numbers.
Not my numbers.
So, I'm hung up on the first box, and if the first box, we can't even get past the consistency of the first box, then the rest of it
As I
doesn't.
said, they're supposed to be the same, but they're not.
Right.
At that point, that's probably what I was billed. That's probably what either my CPA or my wife took and put in that box, because that's what I was billed at the time. I didn't have the full bill from the AC company. And I've got the receipt showing you, what I was billed and what I've paid. And if you give me a second, I can find it for you.
It's actually on the evidence, the invoice from the AC company from Escarosa. We have it on an email, I think.
And isn't Escarosa the one you're telling us isn't paid?
Yes, they're owed
currently?
$4,100.
So you are conceding the total was 8,300, I think?
8,300, yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Poole, do you agree that the Escarosa has not been paid the last $4,100? Do you concur that?
I do, and they will be paid. I just talked to the owner, Monday when I got back in town. Him and I talked, and he realized it, and I've got a check coming to him, and he knows that. You're welcome to call him.
Ms. Chesney, if you can look at the screen up there, is that the document that you're referring to in regard to
Yes,
Escarosa?
That's
the invoice?
Yeah.
We had some problems with the AC at the end of it. Couple of things that I got billed for, and I don't think I charged her for it, but I'm not 100% sure without looking at those notes. But it failed inspection the first time because the box, we had to build a closet for it to go in. There was nothing there. And my framers built it, I think it was like 2 inches too small, the inspector said. And he kicked it back, and it was legitimate. We come back, we fixed it. Took them a while to get to it, but not too long, and we got it fixed. So anyways, that's kind of why we're at the last moment with them getting paid, is I don't pay until inspections are complete.
Excuse me, Ms. Chesney, how much have you paid Mr. Poole at this point?
113,675.
So
I
there's
thought there's
zero.
975.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
So there's zero reason
There-
for the AC people to not be paid at this point. Thank you.
Go ahead and count 2 or count 3. Entertain a motion for count 3 in violation of.
I make a motion for violation of misconduct or incompetency in the practice of contracting, any other form of misconduct or incompetency.
Motion's made. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Mary, would you like to address the penalty in one motion?
Oh, yes. I amend that to add that the violation, with the penalty of $1,000.
How much?
1,000.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made and seconded for the addition of the penalty phase to $1,000 fine. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor say, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Being none, the violation of count 3 with a fine of $1,000 is approved.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Poole, having been found in violation of all 3 counts and assessed fines in the amount of $2,250, staff needs a motion that includes a time frame in which those fines have to be paid.
60 days, is that?
Motion to set a time frame of 90 days.
Motion, it must be paid within 90 days. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor signify by raising your hand. Opposed, like sign. Being none, the motion to have it paid within 90 days is approved.
Do I get something with that on it, or do I need to write it down here?
Once this hearing is adjourned, you will receive a final order with these determinations. So it'll be mailed to you. Yes, sir. It's my understanding that the complainant has asked for restitution in the amount of $8,381. Is that correct, Ms. Chesney?
Can I say something real quick? Can we let the courts decide on that?
No.
Okay.
The court has nothing to do with restitution.
I don't owe her, she owes me. This is getting out of control now, guys. My goodness.
Entertain a motion. Say again the amount, please.
The amount detailed by Ms. Chesney, the complainant, was $8,381.
Entertain a motion to approve the restitution in the amount of $8,700.
$8,381.
$8,381.
Mm-hmm.
Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve restitution for $8,381.
Has she showed proof, receipts, or
Mr.
anything?
Poole?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry, I can't talk. I'm
Let-
sorry, I apologize.
Let them finish. Mr. Irwin, can your motion include a time frame, please? Thank you.
90 days.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Being none, the motion to approve restitution of $8,381 paid within 90 days is approved.
Mr. Poole? This hearing is not over yet. The last item for this hearing is a recommendation to the CILB.
I move that we submit all of the evidence presented to the CILB with the recommendation for them to proceed with discipline as they seem necessary.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Being none, the motion to recommend to the CILB our findings and for them to make their own recommendation as to additional penalties is approved. We're through with Mr. Poole.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
We'll move to item 4, 9-4.
Item 9-4 is Randy L. Everson, doing business as Job's Dirt Works LLC, state registered license number DC 3002, CCB complaint number 230889 COM. It's in regard to a complaint that was established by the Escambia County Development Services. Hang on just a second, please. Escambia County Development Services, they do not have a representative present today. I believe that Mr. Job Everson is present in relation to this case. And Mr. Everson, are you going to provide testimony in regard to this hearing?
As needed, of course.
Thank you.
Whatever y'all need.
Thank you. And at this time, I'm going to have Mr. Everson sworn in. And just a reminder, Ms. Reber is previously sworn.
Okay.
Do you swear to swear the testimony about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do.
Staff requests that the documentation and testimony provided at the probable cause hearing be moved into evidence.
So move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say, signify by raising your hand. Opposed, like sign. Being none, all evidence is moved, or all documentation is moved into evidence, is approved.
Thank you. And there was not any additional information provided for this hearing, so we're going to continue on. I'm going to bring up the administrative complaint. At the probable cause hearing, the board determined that there was probable cause to believe that the respondent violated Code Section 1837D4, violation of state or local building codes or laws for failing to obtain the required pre-demolition inspection, resulting in potential safety hazards. Mr. Joe, this is your opportunity to address the board in regard to this complaint. And I do want to advise the board that once they were made aware of the situation with their permitting, they expeditiously caught everything up, got all of their inspections, and cleaned everything up. You can go ahead.
I guess the only thing I gotta say is that we had a troubled employee, like I said before, but we accept responsibility. This situation has ended. Everybody's made whole. Never will come back. There's not really much else to say.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir. All I really want is to hang on to my license and keep working.
Okay.
A motion to find them in violation of count one, $500 fine.
Motion made, is there a second? Is there a second? No second, motion fails.
Do we need a second to be able to even discuss it up here?
You have to have a motion on the floor to discuss it.
But if there is an additional motion, if that motion fails, an additional motion, then you could discuss it after the
Yeah,
second,
we-
a second
We can
motion.
bring up another motion.
I make a motion that we dismiss.
Motion made to dismiss, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
You'll start first?
Go ahead.
I totally understand where you're at here, and the fact that this was all cleaned up, and the fact that the county employees that came in gave credibility to how quick they responded, went a long ways. And, well, this is a tough one, because the fact is, they did not do it right. I mean, that's a fact.
Yeah, they violated.
They violated, but at the same time, these are not repeat offenders, these are not people who can't get their stuff together, the numbers together and everything else like we've been seeing. So it's a mixed bag, and I hope you can appreciate our position today that Mr. Irwin's not a bad guy for saying what he said, because the truth is, you guys did violate that.
That's why I didn't try to deny it. I
Right.
stand by the truth.
Right.
Facts are the facts. From the same point, I'm a good contractor. We do hundreds of jobs, and I'd like to continue to do so.
And the leniency, if granted here today, would be saying that because of the good steps you've made, and don't never, like Mr. Chairman says, don't ever come back.
You guys won't see me in here. You might see me out there somewhere. You won't see me in here.
That's why I made the motion to dismiss, because at this point,
Clarification.
there's, to me, they've done everything right. Everybody, we all run businesses, and you do take responsibility for your employees, and at that point, you did everything right to fix it. The fact that the county employees came in here to say that spoke volumes. So finding him, I don't find being just. at this point.
Okay, I want to clarify. The penalty guidelines are guidelines. They're not facts. Can we have a penalty less than $500?
So this is in our county ordinance. If he were to be found in violation, the penalty guidelines, meaning this is what you have to assess, is a $500 to $1,250 fine.
The policy, the code does not allow for a
Variation?
variation from that. You have to stay within those numbers. As to what the board can do, it is within your discretion. If you feel like, even in a situation where there was probable cause and it's your discretion to determine whether or not the appropriate thing is to find him in violation and to punish him. Since the two go together, you may have a situation. If you don't think it's appropriate to impose the fines as required, you may have a conundrum there if you really want to find him in violation and punish him. But there was no second when it came to violation.
Seems like the easy way out is to dismiss it when it is a violation. So why building inspectors file a complaint if you don't want anything to happen?
They don't have a decision in this. They have to bring it before the board and you have to make the decision.
Yeah.
They can't have a position
Well,
on this.
I made mine, but it goes how it goes.
And I very much respect your position, Mr. Irwin. It's a difficult thing here to decipher.
I hear you, but it's not for me.
Wrong is wrong, black and white.
There
I
you
got
go.
you, I got you.
Hey, you mess up,
I got you.
pay the cost.
I got you.
Don't do it again. Okay.
What kind of, I mean, forgive me for being not educated enough, but what does this really mean if he actually has a violation against his license? What does that mean for him in the long term?
So in this instance, if he were to be found in violation and you gave him the minimal fine on there, it gets recorded in his license. It is viewable by citizens, and it's there.
It remains a part of public record for
Correct.
the next 20 years? Is it 20? For as long as the retention schedule requires, and I haven't looked at the retention schedule. I think Jennifer says it is 20.
I would have to go back to give you a definitive, but it's in the public record.
So it would have it may have a long-term effects. So
Right,
that's-
I still stand by my motion. If he was a repeat offender, I'd have a whole different opinion, but.
Mr. Chair, do we have a motion and a second? On the, we do, right?
Nope.
Yeah.
We do have a motion to dismiss
So that's right, there is a motion to dismiss.
and a second.
And a second. All those in favor say aye, or signify. Opposed, like sign. One, the motion passes to dismiss count one.
Thank you, guys. I will not be back.
That's the only count?
That's it, sir.
Okay.
So now we will circle back.
You're up.
To item 9.2, Christopher W. Brown doing business as Shooting Stars Construction LLC, state registered license number RG 0019314, Contractor Competency Board complaint number 230557 COM. It's in regard to VinCal, again, the homeowner complainant at 3709 Idlewood Drive, Pensacola, Florida 32505. We just postponed this hearing from earlier today, and I believe that representation along with Mr. Perez has some statements to make.
We will need Mr. Perez to be sworn in as well.
That's correct.
You solemnly swear the testimony about to give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Pedro Antonio E. Perez, 4912 South Leafield Road, Pensacola, Florida.
Mr. Perez, are you the superintendent for Shooting Star Construction?
Yes, sir.
And were you the one that handled the superintendent of the job at 3709 Idlewood Drive?
Yes, sir.
All right. And You understand today that the homeowner has alleged that Shooting Star has failed to complete the work, is that correct?
That's what they say.
Okay. What is the status of the work on the home so far? Is it near completion?
When we got terminated without notice, the house was almost completed, 85% of the house. And we have sitting in the bank $116,718, which we have purchased all the last material in order to complete the rest of the 15%, which it cost us $106,528,000, which we owe $106,528.35 to different companies.
And first, I'm gonna have you specify a few things. You mentioned some money held in the bank, and you're talking about the cows draw.
No, they we never got able to use because they terminate us and the county, and also they deferred us to use the money that was sitting in the bank for us to pay the subs and the material.
Now, you mentioned that $106,000 and change is still owed to Shooting Star Construction, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, and I'm gonna go through some of these. I understand you have some unpaid invoices to Home Depot.
Home Depot.
And do you know the amount that?
The amount of Home Depot is 3,000, total is 13,533 for Home Depot.
So that's $13,533?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you have some to Rosen Materials?
Rosen Material, 1,288.18.
All right, and LL Flooring?
$6,950.85.
Okay, and then American Cabinets?
Cabinets, 25,452.80.
Right, and to SB Granite?
The granite is $4,685.
Right, Mobile Lumber?
It's $10,574.22.
Okay, and Hogan Plumbing, Tub and Gas?
It's $930.01, and then they asked for gas and the construction, which was not in the contract, for $2,664.
All right, now Boutwell Air?
The air, they upgrade the air, and we owe $3,950 more.
Okay, how about septic tank?
Septic tank is $8,500.
All right, and what are these other matters that,
The brick man, we owe $3,000 because they put 20,000 bricks around the house. And the yard cleaning was $5,000 because there was, that place was a mess. Every time it rains, all the mud goes around everywhere, so we had to spend that much money in order to put clay and compact the inside of the property in order for the people going with the vehicles. And finally, we spent $20,000 in subs and interior doors, trimming, sheetrock work, and the rest of it. So at this moment, we owe $106,528.35, which is, we were supposed to pay that with the money that was sitting in the bank, which was $116,000. $116,718, which we are there, even not permitted us to get it complete. But the house was completed more than 85%.
now you've testified as to about $106,528.35. Was that expended on materials and services for this property?
That was expended in the last material in order to complete the rest of the 50% that was left on it, which they kept. They would not allow us to come back. After they terminate us, they put a lock on the door, and they have not answered any phone call or any advance that we do in order to retrieve some of that material to return it, which is, they try to keep $106,000 worth of material that we owe, plus the $116,000 that's sitting at the bank, which it belonged to us too. And they tried to build a house for 422 square footage at $89 a square footage, which is not right. Axel, we have a verbal contract saying that they would pay the rest of it. When we did the contract before COVID, there's $130 a square footage, and the bank only allowed them to have $415,000. The rest of it should have been acquired by the owner and payments, which it was $130,000 left.
Okay, so the $106,000 you talk about today for materials, have those materials been incorporated into the project?
They use all the material. As far as I know, they would not allow us to come back, so I don't know. There's the cabinets and the rest of stuff, the lighting and all that. If they kept everything, they would not allow us to come back and pick it up and return it to the raffle owners, which are the companies that give us the material. So I don't understand the situation, but I hope you do guys understand in the position that we are right now.
And since the cows have discharged you from the job, have you made attempts to go to the property to inspect it?
Couple of times, and there's locks on the door, and they don't answer the phone.
Okay, now at the last meeting a month ago, we indicated that you would try to go and look at the property. Since then, have you contacted the cows to try to inspect the property?
I reached to the property a couple of times, and there's lock on it, and they would not answer my phone. They told me I was a liar, and they don't want to talk to me anymore. So, also, we are trying to bring a company besides us and the one that they have to verify the amount of money they're trying to get from our insurance company, which is, I don't think is fair that they will not allow us to contest their numbers, which is, I don't think it's fair from the company board to not allow us to at least come and try to find out if they try to reach about us, because it's still $116,000 in the bank, plus they kept $106,000 out of my money. So that means they have 116 plus 106. So that's what, there's almost $200,000 that they are, now they're trying to get $200 and something thousand in restitution, which I don't think that should be fair, really.
As I specified to the board earlier, we had some issues in contacting the cows to try to go inspect the property, take pictures so that we could corroborate the amounts that they, of course, have claimed that they're due here. As I mentioned, I wasn't able to do so, as Mr. Cow had represented that he had an attorney and that his attorney would contact me, but that never happened. My client likewise tried to contact them to arrange an inspection of the property and just were denied the opportunity to do so. That was something that was discussed at the last meeting, specifically on the minutes, was that we had discussed the desire to go into the property. Mr. Cow had represented at that time that he would agree to allow us to do so. The homeowner ultimately did not permit that. That, of course, has tied our hands in the defense of this matter. It's, of course, limited our ability to refute the allegations against us. At this point, we believe that the restitution requested by the cows is excessive. We believe that my client should be afforded an opportunity to go and look into the property. And we would also request that, to the extent that $106,528.35 has been delivered and incorporated into the project and not yet paid, that any amounts claimed by the cows be reduced by that amount as well.
I have a question. Has any of this information that you just rattled off been provided to Ms. Reber prior to this?
Unfortunately, no. It was provided to me today, so this was not provided in advance to Ms. Reber, and I do apologize about that. I simply did not have it to provide until this morning.
You could have him, if he wanted to introduce that, certainly the testimony is sufficient, but it's sworn testimony before you, but if you wanted copies of it, you could ask him if he had any intent of introducing it, and we can make copies to provide to the board.
I do have documents in support of each of these numbers that Mr. Perez just testified to. We do have a copy of the packet that we can provide to you. And again, I apologize if this wasn't provided sooner, if I may.
You want to make some copies? And just so you know, Mr. Matthews, the complainant in this case does
Yes.
want, still wants to address you whenever you're done with handling this.
Mr. Cal?
Thank you, the board. I have,
Yeah.
Did you want individual copies of that? Does anybody need to keep it with them? Okay.
That's a copy of all the receipts.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I have few counterpoint to the attorney saying.
Yes.
First of all, I would like to see the phone record that Mr. Perez called me, because I don't have any phone call, first in the last or before that. And I want to prove that. And nobody called. And the second part is, I did send the attorney what the board asked. He never responded back to me. So I don't want to say, he said, she said. This is the proof. And I respect the board. And the cost, another part of the cost of the redo cost, I did send to the attorney to list it out, what is the cost? Who did he pay? How much it cost? The redo cost from Woodland Construction, that's what I provided to you, the count of what they have damaged to my house. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
question, there's been a point made about Mr. Kyle having an attorney. I misunderstood, did or did he not have an attorney?
Yes, I did not answer that because I thought that the attorney for the civil lawsuit, yes, I do have an attorney. And I thought that we would went to the court about the money.
So you have an attorney?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Have you contacted his attorney?
I don't know who his attorney is. He just told me he had an attorney. I provided him with my business card at the last meeting and asked him to have his attorney contact me. He did represent to me that he had an attorney, which under the ethical rules governing members of the bar, I'm not allowed to contact a represented party. I'm required to go through their attorney. I've had this issue with pro se litigants before where they indicate that they have an attorney. It does create a bit of a problem for me. I would like his attorney to contact me or to find out who it is so I can contact them directly. Either one's fine. I just don't know who it is.
Do you have that information?
Yes, I do.
Would you please give us that information so that he may have it, that he can contact your attorney?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
The reason I didn't do that is the first time when I came here that I heard the board say that you don't like attorney. So I didn't provide anything, but
Okay.
I will do it now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, what do we go?
So the request made by Mr. Cowell was in the amount of $229,587.09. Testimony just provided by Mr. Perez and representation was they had expenditures of $106,528.35.
We have to make a decision on the restitution today.
No, you do not. If you need more time to review this information more in depth, especially given the fact that some information was just provided to the board today, you can always defer this to another meeting if you so choose. Again, the actual disciplinary action portion of this has already been decided. This hearing was only for restitution purposes, and it can be deferred.
So we've already voted on disciplinary action.
That's correct.
So right now, we're just contemplating what the restitution is gonna be.
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, I think, that the, two attorneys should get together before we make a decision. Now that he has an opportunity to talk to his attorney, Mr. Cow's attorney.
Well, we had the evidence provided to us, and this is just coming to us now, so there's no way we can validate anything counsel or Mr. Perez is saying. So I'm not quite sure. I mean, we keep delaying these cases over and over again, and if attorneys are involved, I'm sure if we put some sort of restitution on there, they can determine the fact of the restitution if it's going to court, which I'm pretty sure, based on the direction that they're gonna end up in court.
Ms. Cal?
Just to be clear, you had a motion on the floor that was tabled, correct?
Not on this one.
I thought on the restitution, we tabled it? Did we not? Okay, just making sure.
Did we? Not on this one, right? We haven't had no motion on this case. This one just,
That's okay.
Just making sure we're not getting anything out of order. Apologize.
no, we haven't.
No, we did not table this.
Just wanted to try to make a point, and I would like to say thank you for saying that. It's, the attorney, I did communication with Mr. Ben here, attorney, that how much it costs, and I emailed it to him, that's what the cost is. They did not do prepare. The board asked me to do 10. I do exactly what the board asked. They just delaying stuff. And while we bleeding, and I did provide the house is peeling, the structure, the how the paint is peeling. I asked for the cost. Who did they pay to? How much it cost? They come up with today the number a few minutes ago, and the board take that. I'm not upset about that. I say that's fine. Be fair, it's fair. But they don't do it. And while we bleeding because our house is not complete, and can you pull the picture, the peeling of the house? How long can it last?
You have somebody else finishing the job right now, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
correct. If you come down here, you see before and
Yeah,
after, totally
They
different.
were here with the last meeting, right?
Yes, yep. And what he provided is just the number. He didn't provide you any evidence, and he didn't give you the time for the evidence. I did. I do everything you ask. And, I mean, if we have a lot of money, then probably I can go for years, that's fine. But we don't have anything, we bleeding every day, day by day. Now, if I lose my job, it's over. Yeah.
Uh,
The other one, yeah, that is not the paint, it's not really paint, they didn't do it.
a motion.
Okay, right now.
Mr. Chair, I would like to ask for a continuance or make a motion for a continuance for 1 month to review the numbers prior to making a decision on the amount of restitution.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Did it be considered at the next meeting?
Do you want a calculation on the distance they are apart?
Yeah.
So the difference, once you take what the request was minus what Mr. Perez provided, is an amount of $123,058.74.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that again?
$123,058.74.
That's the amount that would be there after you deduct the amount that they're
That's
saying is
correct.
owed to them.
Mm-hmm.
So they're off by about 100 and some change.
You still want that motion?
It still stands unless it fails.
Did we get a second on the motion? So we can discuss it?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in first? All those in,
I don't,
You have a motion made and seconded, so now they want to
we need
discuss
just
it.
some discussion.
yeah. The only thing I'm saying is that I don't really think we'll be able to validate the reality of the numbers. And that's something that the courts are gonna have to do. Number one, we don't have the luxury of time to going through all these invoices. We just have to take it for face value based on the evidence that was provided to us. And we have a number of 229,587.09, if I'm not mistaken, that's been asked for restitution. So that's, basically, I'm at that point now because, we keep extending. Again, clearly, a court's got to decide whether or not that restitution value is going to hold or not. We just have to make a decision based on everything that we've heard. And I've seen the house. We've seen the pictures of the house. I mean, and we're all in construction, pretty much all of us up here. Put yourself in the position of starting to build a house 2.5 years ago. And this is the one where the windows were mismatched, correct?
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
the doors.
That doesn't happen. That shouldn't happen on anything that you're building in this county, where a job supervisor allows his subcontractor to put two windows that are not equally matching. I mean, there's gotta be a set of drawings somewhere that identify what you're ordering. So whoever made that order, and again, we don't go back into that deep, but we can
Yep.
just base it on what we've seen here. So based on everything that's happened, everything that gentleman has come in here and told us month after month, I'm leaning towards making a motion for the full amount for restitution. But we'll see how this discussion goes and if the motion on the floor passes or not.
I actually agree with what you're saying. At this point, we've made so many continuances, it's getting a little silly.
I entertain a motion.
There's a
Was
motion
it
and a
full
second.
amount?
Yeah, I want to say that I'm normally not someone who supports these delays, but I just don't know why the two of y'all didn't get together and discuss this already. Mr. Kyle says he's done everything the board's asked, and it looks like he has, and the deficiency seems to be on the other side. So, yeah, I know that's, as a contractor, that's a lot of money they have to come up with and that you're gonna lose. And that would be my main reason for, because I'm a contractor, that's pretty tough to deal with. That's, if we ready.
If this doesn't proceed to any court at this point, and we was talking about waiting for a court, we could be months of waiting and waiting and
And even if
waiting.
we continue it to next month,
That's
I
what I'm
don't
saying.
see the difference it's going to be.
What are we gonna change between this month and next month, as far as the court system? The only thing we can do is, like Mr. Rainey mentioned, just, we could have more time to look over the details in-house. But as far as waiting on the court thing, we ain't gonna get there all the way, not in a month. Especially if nothing's even been started, you know what I'm saying? You guys know there ain't no way in the world that'll happen in not in our system today with backlogs and everything. So the most I would support is where Mr. Randy's at for 1 month, for the sake of staff being able to look at stuff but I'm with Mr. Irwin. We've had enough kick the ball down the road here, and it's time to get this thing for the sake of everybody involved.
Well, we have
Agreed.
We have a
Agreed.
motion and a second, so if the board seems fit to extend it, I'll vote accordingly.
For 1 month. The motion is to extend it for 1 month. All those in favor, raise your hand. Opposed, like sign. Being none, the motion is approved for the 1 month extension to look at the numbers.
So we will add these, the receipts will be added to the public record, and it'll be on the items that are already listed. It'll be added to the whole
Yeah.
agenda item for the next time, so you'll have additional documentation. And that goes out in the public record, so you can get a hold of those numbers and look at them before the next meeting if
And
if
I
you want to.
think- I'm sorry, go ahead, finish.
I was just gonna let you know, that's not a violation of any sunshine rules, you just can't discuss it with each other, but you can certainly prepare for a hearing the next time, or for a
Yeah.
decision the next time.
Mr. Cow, I would strongly urge you to get your attorney together with their attorney to try to come up with some resolution before then, so that we can have, I guess, a better educated opinion about what's going on between the two parties at this point,
Yes, I will.
so that we can better serve you.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for the board
Yeah.
to tell me that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going
Okay.
to do it.
So-
Be-
Also, Mr. Guy will help you also if we can get that solid number.
Yes.
I'm sure your attorney can talk to the other council and they can come up with a number, so when you do come back in, when staff does tell us this is the amount, we know that it's gonna be the right amount, so even if it does go to court, at least you know that you've made a good faith attempt to negotiate with the other party. Cause today, now that I consider it, if we were to make a decision, it could come back and say, well, we have to adjust that number based on the fact that the evidence that they provided. So what they're providing today is for the record, so let's hope it's all honest, and if it is, great. If it's not, then you can, dispute it and come up with that number. So by next month's meeting, we'll get that
Yes.
restitution amount.
Yes, I will do.
Thank you,
That's what I'm
Mr.
waiting.
Cow.
And
Thank
as
you.
I explained to the board, just so you know, this is gonna be it'll be added to the agenda, the documents that we were just provided. So you look up there and you have all these agenda items that are available.
Yes.
When you go online, do you know how to find that online?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so it'll be added to that, so you can look at those numbers yourself,
Yes, I
those
do.
receipts.
Yes, I do.
Okay?
And then I will add in the $10,000 from the lumber, that I will add to the review
Yes.
cost, because that wasn't good pay. Yep, I will do that. Thank you.
I have a question for staff.
Yeah.
What's the deadline for additional information to be submitted for that?
I request that all items be submitted 10 days prior to the hearing, so we can ensure that they're uploaded to agenda.
Thank you.
Just add on, is it possible that we can let people know that when they're coming in for these meetings and they've got more evidence? I don't know if the rule allows us not to, but when they bring this stuff in at the 11th hour, it certainly puts us off, because here we are trying to listen and give them an opportunity to speak their minds, but if that date's already been done and gone with, if that date's already been done and gone with, then we just need to kind of I'm sorry, we can't, we're not gonna consider it.
So that is a decision for this board to make when that happens. You can vote to not accept it. They can always testify to what they're giving you, and they are noticed, it's a written notice that to have it, but to Jennifer before 10 days.
To have that in front of us, or at least so, whether the chair or the vice chair or somebody can, so when they're bringing it up and we hear for a disciplinary meeting, it's all it's for. When we hear to put violations on them, they understand that's all it's here for. So missing a meeting and coming in back to the next meeting and, starting this whole case over again, it's just a waste of time. And realistically, the brain capacity to go back and try to think and try to be fair, it's unfair to them also that we're making this quick decision based on what they're providing to us today. Because I think this is the second or the third case that's happened today. But again, moving forward, if we're all consistent on that, then I think we just need to, right from the beginning, the get-go, when they're up here, when they're bringing up something that's new and needed to add, sorry, you had your opportunity, we are gonna base our decision on the facts that we have to us available.
And sure, and that's something you would do on a case-by-case basis, but you can certainly take that approach, it would just be a matter of emotion.
Yeah.
I think that Mary made a good, several times interjected that, expressed that, saying, so you knew, So you certainly can, and at that point, you can make a motion and decide whether or not, just like you make a motion to accept the county's exhibits, same thing, you can make the motion to not accept the exhibits because of their late filing, but then, of course, they could always testify to the contents. So then you go back to, do I want this exhibit in front of me once I get the testimony of the contents?
But they do, like this gentleman just gave us this handful of paperwork. There needs to be a process where they're providing to this staff first.
And
right?
that's why they're given notice to do that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
again, so if they're not, then we need to also put in our circulation of whatever we send to them, that any new evidence will not be accepted, so please don't bring it. And I don't know if we can do that legally now, but, some sort of message back to anybody that's coming in here. I think it would be helpful, I guess, time-wise, but not only that, but just for us to make a decision. And rather than tabling things and moving it forward, I think right now we're more, and which is great. We want to try to work with both parties as best as we can, but they also have to understand that this is a system that's in place, that we have to make some hard decisions. And I don't know about, I'm pretty sure we all feel the same way. Personally, I feel kind of like when I'm making a decision, but I'm having to make it based on the fact, that's why when you hear a motion, nobody's jumping up for the motion. If we were clear in our direction and what we have to do, then we'd jump to make motions.
Okay.
But right now, I think it's the consideration that we have that we're just kind of like, okay, we've got new evidence. Then my colleague over here is absolutely right. Yeah, but, we've got a decision to make. Which way do we go? So I just want to kind of state that for the record, that how we're doing things is great, but I think we need to be a little more harsher on the decisions that we're making and allowing people to come up at the 11th hour and saying, yes, we have this that's coming in today. And, here we are determining whether or not the restitution amount is going to be correct or not. Otherwise, everybody's going to have to get that message. Well, don't go to the meeting, but at the 11th hour, just go in there and, we'll circumvent the board to buy some time. And now we just reopen up this whole case again that we've been doing for 3 months.
I can work with Jennifer for some language on that notice when it goes out. That would pass muster.
There we go. And I think
Okay.
we all need to be consistent in that too. That's just me. And if they're coming up, I'm sorry, guys, it is what it is. We can't,
And one says, like I said, it's a case-by-case basis just because you don't know the facts surrounding it. But in situations where you've had something ongoing for multiple months, when you get to the probable cause stage, there's already been a request for documents.
Right.
So you're talking months out.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have one more request while we're rambling. The, some of the, contractors, have been here more than once. Some of us who are newer guys,
Yeah.
don't know how many times. I know some of you guys have been here a long time. Y'all know a lot more, but me and Mr. Nash maybe don't know quite as many. Ms. Mary, is there a way we can have something from staff after, and we pick a number, third time somebody starts coming? In other words, not just the second or third, but if it seems to be a pattern going here, that we can go ahead and be made known to that so that we kind of have a little insight our own self of something that, be prepared, be wary, be et cetera.
Yeah.
And I would say second, not even third. If they've been here one time before, then we need to know that, this contractor was here on whatever, June 20th of 1999, if it goes file that back. So we just know that, again, how long has this been, what type of
Well, that
violation was it?
information is available.
Is it?
But can we have staff make it available to us when it
If
starts
they're
off?
on the agenda.
Yeah, if it's
If
on the
the-
agenda, obviously, yeah.
If it's on the agenda, then that's certainly something that could be given in testimony by Ms. Reber, and then you'd have that information in front of you.
Yeah,
But
that'd be perfect.
sometimes you may just need to ask the question.
Yeah.
And if you're not asking the question of the witness, then
But guys of us that may not know,
right.
Mr. Randy's been here a few minutes, but some might know that, and then be able to go ahead and immediately, relate. If we don't know, I just think it'd be helpful to us.
It can be definitely added to it.
Thank you.
It wouldn't be, it's not relevant to whether or not that the current complaint,
Yeah,
and you have to weigh
it's
it
not-
in
yeah.
light of that.
Yeah.
You may want to wait until the determination, after you've determined that they are in violation, and then ask that question. That'd probably be the better time, so it doesn't weigh on whether, or not when you make your initial decision. You'll know if it's a prior violation, if it's one of the ordinances that requires, or the
Yeah.
codes that requires.
Like first or second violation.
If it's a first or second violation, that information, it'll automatically be available because it'll be part of the case. However, in fairness in weighing the evidence, you may want to wait until after you've made all your decisions as to the counts and that information be provided. So separate out your sentencing, because, there is sentencing that can occur after you've already decided it's a fine plus probation, because there's also that opportunity in what we call the wherefore paragraph at the end that allows you to suspend, terminate, or suspend privileges, those types of things when they're county license.
Is there a rule that states that, and just for discussion purposes? I mean, I'd like to know before the decision
would
is
too.
made. I mean, I wouldn't want to wait until we go through the whole exercise and then, okay, we're ready to make a decision on violations, and then we say, get something, because that could be an ultimate factor to determine whether or not we see consistency in the behavior of the general contractor and he or she is doing.
So if you wanted to use it during sentencing,
Probable cause.
Probable
Probable
cause.
cause here, yeah.
To be able to
I
identify,
understand,
is
but
this a
you'll have to
pattern?
say that you are making this decision based on the facts that are before you and not the fact that they've had a prior. Because the facts have to be based on your decision has to be based on the facts of the complaint, not the fact that they've had a prior. So it just kind of lends itself to make it look like maybe you're considering something you shouldn't. Because you shouldn't find somebody in violation or probable cause because they've done it before.
I agree.
So that's why I'm saying, wait to get that information until you're ready to determine what the penalty will be. And then it doesn't weigh in, it certainly could be relevant to what you're trying to do under the penalty, but it doesn't weigh in to your determination on these facts, whether it occurred. Punishment is the place for that to fit, without it being, appearing to
Yes.
be inappropriate.
Bias.
It's not to
Understood.
say
Thank
that
you.
I haven't had judges say before,
Yeah.
I know
For
him,
that clarity.
I know her, I've seen her before, so it's not that it doesn't get said, but they always have to, you want to be very careful as a board that you are
Yeah.
weighing the facts of the complaint. But you can certainly have that information. I just would caution that you wait until you're in the sentencing, or not the sentencing, the penalty phase.
Thank you.
Is there any further business?
Yes, sir, we need to elect a chairman and a vice chairman.
That's true. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Well, before you do that, this is my last meeting, guys.
We
It is my last meeting. I am no longer going to be the chairman of the Contractor Competency Board.
I hate to burst your bubble, Chair, but we need that in writing. You have to give me written
I
notice
will
of
give
that.
it to you in writing.
Do we have the option of not accepting it?
No, you don't have that option because I refuse to do it.
He's retired.
So this is where it leaves you. It means you can't nominate him.
That's
You
right.
at least are on notice that he's not going to be here for the next meeting. So as far as your nominations, as I pointed out earlier, Mike Batchelor and Brian Bell aren't here, but you can certainly nominate someone who's not here, if you'd like to.
I'm just gonna throw it out there and suggest that some of these newer people to our board might like to sit in that seat.
I nominate, Alton Lister
I'll second
I
that.
second.
as chairman and Nash Patel as co-chair,
Oh, goodness.
or vice versa. How about that? I'm your number one. I voted for it.
So you have a
I'm
motion
old.
and a second on the floor.
Have a motion? Is there a second? I got a second. The motion is,
Discussion?
now we can have a discussion.
Okay, we had nomination for both, but was you specific about which one is the chair?
You take the chair this year.
Yeah, let's do, Alton Lister.
I second that.
He'll be, I think he'll make an excellent chairman.
All right. I
So the
second.
motion is Alton for chairman, Nash for vice chair.
Vice chair.
Can I have
Any
any
further
part of this
discussion?
discussion? Mr. Tim, help me out over here, man. What,
Any further
hey,
discussion?
can I, whoa, time out. Can I just ask, is there any conflict of interest in all that? I've got my hands in other stuff. I mean, I'm serious. It's not anything here, but I mean, like the Home Builders Association, the Florida Home Builders, I'm on a bunch of that stuff, and is there any kind of conflict? I don't know. I'm just asking.
Legal's checking right now, and
There,
I think she's responding.
it's not a conflict for you to be chairman of a board that you're already on. We determined before that it was not a conflict for you to be on this board. So there's
Can
no.
I just tell you, I'm not trying to be, we're still on public record, aren't we? I need to be.
Yes, we're
Okay.
still on the record.
Okay, Okay, this is public knowledge. I'm incoming chair of the governmental affairs for the state this coming year. And I'm also on a ladder of rise. You read in that what you want. I just want to make sure there's no conflict. That's the only thing, sincerely.
Well, let me ask, do you want to be it? I mean.
Okay, let me say
otherwise-
this. I've never wanted to be any of this stuff, but I've always said, I told Mr. Tillman from the very beginning, if I can add value, I'm here. And if I can't add value, somebody who can needs to sit there. So, if I can add value, I'll do what I can, but if I've had a lot of titles over the year, and I'm thankful for it, I'm not bragging, I'm not looking for a title, I'm just saying if I can add value, then.
Well, from my perspective, having been here for about 20 years, it's not gonna, I don't think you'll run into any kind of conflict of interest. Just knowing what I've gone
Okay,
through.
I just want to make sure, because I do want to be, forthright with this other. And that's different than what the COMC is here, but I will say this, I do represent us whenever, like, just yesterday, I was in a meeting with Melanie Griffin, who is the head of the DBPR secretary. And I even threw out Ms. Jennifer's name and told her she needed to contact her because she would know a lot of stuff about the ins and outs of what we went through with the licensing, with the state, the CILB, the length of time. I'm also chair of a task force for the Florida Home Builders Association that deals with contractor licensings. And we're dealing with this. There's situations, this ain't the only county. There is a county in Florida where a bad actor is also a political figure, and it's pretty tightrope to walk. So we're trying to help as much as I can, from that. So I just want to make sure there's no conflict, that's all.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, I want to know what Mary thinks.
Oh, I'm good.
You would make a good one too.
But you already made a motion, so we're good.
Any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor signify by raising your hand.
1, 2, 3, 4. Gotcha.
Opposed? Being none, the motion approves, and we have a new chairman and vice chairman.
So, Mr. Patel and Mr. Lister, I will be reaching out to set up meetings with each of you just to run over the requirements and what's expected. And for staff, we're gonna miss you.
Thank you.
We're gonna miss him, and I just got to know him this year.
Thank
He's
you.
already threatened to come back by.
Huh?
You've already threatened to
I
come back
can't
by.
come back because I keep telling them, don't come back. Is there any other business before the board?
I will go back and look into whether or not there is a conflict. I can't see one based on you're already on the board, but I will double check that, and if that becomes a situation, then he may have to step down, and you know what happens then.
Just got set up, didn't I?
Well, there may need to be a new election.
Well, being no further business, this board is adjourned.